We are about to move out of our forever home, but we don't fly out for 7 more weeks. So we will spend the next 7 weeks living out of our carry-on luggage, a few hotel rooms, and staying with a few family members. And honestly, this last little stretch has been the hardest of the whole past year. Even though we sold everything, including the house, property, all of our possessions, everything that doesn't fit inside a carry-on, this has been the hardest, and I want to share why, and also what are some things you can do to make this time easier on you if you are planning to move abroad or slow travel. So here are 5 things I underestimated, so you don't have to. Number 1, the burnout. The burnout from working off of pure adrenaline and my to-do list for the past year plus. I have rocked the last year. The amount of stuff I've gotten done to sell this house, to sell all of our possessions, to make as much money as possible on every one of those. I also got my college degree, so that was an added thing. But you may be working, you may be raising kids. There's all sorts of things we all have. And it has to be orchestrated so carefully for so long to pull all of this off. Then now that we finally can take a breath, I find that my brain is fried. I have completely run out of energy. My motivation is very little. And it probably is really healthy. I just didn't expect it. I thought I would be able to barrel through all summer long, and then when we finally get to Japan, I could then just relax and just enjoy and bask in all that Japan is. So maybe it's good it's happening now. It's allowing me a little time before we go to just sit with it all and work through it. But there still is work that I need to get done. We're not out of this house yet. We have just a couple more days here. By the time you watch this, we will be out. And so it needs me to show up. And so what I would advise if you are in the planning stages still and ahead of this point is build in some buffer. I'm really grateful to myself that I got so much of the other tasks done. Even a few months ago, we did so much of the planning. During our cold winter, we spent those weeks and months researching locations, booking ahead on what we could. We've spent our fall selling everything. So right now, there's nothing that I have to do from that perspective. It's simply keeping the house clean, the last minute touch-ups, keeping the lawn mowed, the weeds weeded, and then getting everything I can with my business and life administratively handled and prepared. So my tip is to do the high energy work early and save as little as possible for this stage, and just know that you may have the crash. And that exhaustion makes the next item on my list so much harder to do. So number 2, going without on purpose. So we gave away our bed. We got rid of our couches, our cabinets around the house, our TV stand, all of that, our TV for that matter, and speakers. It was all very intentional, and I feel really good about gifting those items. So I don't mean this to sound whiny, but you just have to expect this section of it. Sleeping on an air mattress for weeks isn't ideal. It can make you feel very behind in life if you let it mentally get into your head. So you have to just go in very clear-eyed that this is intentional. It's part of the plan. We've decided to live out of our suitcases. It starts now. So not having all of our pots and pans anymore. We gifted our utensils, our kitchen table. This old recliner I'm sitting on will be burned right before we leave here. It's disgusting, but it's working for this situation. And so just keep your head up that this is going to happen. And you have to mentally just go in knowing, unless you're putting all of your stuff in storage on the last day, then you have a different scenario. We did not want to store stuff. We don't know if we're coming back to the U.S. long term. We will to visit, but we don't know if we'll ever live here again. And so just not being sure, we decided, you know what, this is a moment in life. And after inheriting so much from others and just dealing with so much stuff, we knew this was a moment where we could just wipe the slate clean. So we kept one carry-on worth of things that we're keeping with a family member of stuff that we wanted to keep that's special and irreplaceable. Everything else went. We'll only have a backpack each when we travel. And so this last bit of time, it's trying to get down to that bare minimum of stuff that we can fit in our car, but also not be completely uncomfortable for the last days here. And so it's walking that tightrope. So for us, because we sold our trailer, we had to get rid of that stuff while it still worked, and we had help to do that. But reframing into, I feel really good about being generous. This is the least I could do. Sleep on an air mattress for a few weeks so that someone I care about could have a really nice bed. Or the television, we're okay. We have computers we can watch stuff on, things like that. Yeah. So reframing it just so you don't get into your own head about it is what I'm finding is key. So while you're going through all that, then there's this thing that sneaks up on you and quietly can wreck your budget if you're not careful. That leads me to number 3, and that is working through the food. So we knew when we left here, we wanted to work through all of our items. On paper, it looked so nice and tidy and frugal and responsible. We would use up as much as possible of our pantry, freezer items, everything. The reality in these last days, and it goes in with that brain exhaustion crash, is it's taking all of my might to make dinners and put the mental energy into that part of life. And so I have been trying to alternate between just suck it up and do it. We had baked potatoes the other night, or like we used the last of the meatballs for spaghetti last night, things like that. And then also we had a big giant bag of frozen veggies. So I thought, okay, the kids are both going to be here. Let's make a big stir fry night. And so I kind of compromised. I used all the veggies we had. I got a steak that I chopped up and sliced. And then we got lo mein from a local Chinese food place. And so all together, we could kind of make this really good meal without having to completely go out to eat for it, and also feel like I'm eating down some of the food that we have. Ultimately, we've eaten out more in the last month than I think if you put the last 5 years together, and I don't love that. I did not expect that. And so with that, there's a little bit of guilt. There's a little bit, it's broken the budget a little bit. So I just want to give you a heads up if you're heading into that, be a little generous with your budget towards the end. Know that you're going to have to fill in some gaps. You might not have all of your baking dishes in your routine, or you're simply not wanting to dirty everything again. Like you just deep clean the oven and you have it all ready for the new buyers, and then you're stuck kind of what to make. So being prepared, having a little extra budget made, and if you can, make some meals ahead of time when you still have all of your stuff. Maybe a few dinners along the way, just double the recipe and freeze some. It will be a gift to yourself this last week or two and really save on the budget. I wish I would have done more of that. So outside of this food trap, the part that I really didn't see coming was our next item. So number 4 is doing all the final details of the house without tools. A couple months ago, we sold all of our power tools, our chainsaws, everything down to a shovel and a rake. We kept a hammer, we kept a couple screwdrivers. So anything that's come up now, we've had to get really creative. I guess my advice would be do every possible fix you can as far ahead as you can so that you can let those things go. I'm really grateful we didn't hold on to them. Yeah. But also when a branch fell from the tree, we kind of had to muscle it back into the woods because there's no chainsaw here to cut it up. So just getting creative. And then a little bit of like fingers crossed that nothing breaks, that we don't have the stuff to fix. Otherwise, we're going to be out borrowing or buying things to fix those items. And so keeping a screwdriver, though, for minor fixes has been huge. And a hammer. I kept a little thing of mudding stuff to patch nail holes, a couple random paintbrushes just for touch-ups, and I'm really glad I did that. So I guess my advice would be to keep a small little box full of those last minute tools that you're going to need. Don't get rid of them till the end, and then either donate them, trash them, whatever you have to do, give them back to a friend. Just save the bare minimum you can to get through this last little stretch. So through all of these other items, there's something that I have felt so guilty about, and that leads me to number 5, and that has been guilt. I have been, because of the no energy, the crash, the indecision on where we're staying coming up, and all of these things that I don't have full control over, I've been terrible at keeping up with people. And I have no energy, no bandwidth to be making plans. I envisioned this period of time, me planning a garden party here, like one of my last weeks, and inviting all my friends over and having these nice lunches out. And maybe that will come this summer still, but I put it on me. I have been terrible. And I actually just did a whole video about this, feeling really lonely, but it's mostly my fault. I just didn't expect this to happen at this stage. I thought I would be like, this adrenaline thing would happen where we're about to leave and I just can muscle through this time, and it's not happening. So instead, my brain just is scanning all the time for what am I missing? What am I not remembering I need to do? Is there someone I was supposed to call or something that needs to be changed? Do I have every address switched over? All of the things all the time. And so it's leading me to be just pretty exhausted. And for me, that hasn't shown up as far as being really tired. Instead, it's almost the opposite, where I'm just stuck on like high, like scanning mode all the time, and I'm having a hard time falling asleep. My sleep's been disrupted. Maybe it's also the air mattress. I'm not sure. It's just not the most ideal time for all of this to converge in my life. And so I guess if for you, what I would advise is expect that you may not have the energy that you think you might have. And if possible, tell people early so they're not thinking you're just ditching them and that you don't care. Let them know that it's nothing personal and that you're just trying to do this. And the fact this is something I need to do coming up here is just reach out to a few people and let them know I haven't forgotten about you. I just am in the swamp of it all right now. I'm in the thick of it. So I feel like I'm managing all of those first 5 things. And then this last little bonus item, we'll call it, kind of showed up, and that just kind of sent me into a little bit more of a like, okay. So that was our closing date got pushed back a week, which means another week on an air mattress. The food that we had kind of timed out to last us, we weren't doing excellent at that. So I guess we have another week now to keep trying to eat through the food. Mind scanning stuff is continuing. I am trying to not worry about the house so much and just keep it in maintenance mode other than lawn mowing and weeding, and trust that everything's pretty much ready to go. I just need to mop everything, clean all the counters, toilets, all that stuff like the final day, and I can get the boys help with that. And so it's been just allowing myself to just settle into this place, but I very much don't feel like I can completely relax, and I don't feel like I'm in the next step yet. And so it's this weird in between that I didn't fully expect. And so I guess my advice would be, if you are planning this to travel abroad or full-time travel, is to give yourself a little buffer. I'm really grateful that our closing date wasn't right up against when our flight left. Now, granted, there are ways that you can digitally sign things nowadays, all of that. So maybe it would have been fine, but the stress of that, even if it worked out, would feel really stressful. Or like our buyers had their house sale fell through a couple times. And so there was a little bit of a roller coaster that I was really choosing not to energetically embrace, and just trying to stay at a really good place and just imagining them elevating to a good place too. And like, if there's a way, I'm going to will the sale of all of these houses so that everything works out, and trying to stay in a really positive mindset. But then there's the reality of sitting on a used recliner in the middle of an empty room and trying to stay as positive as I can. It's just intermixes with all those other things I just talked about, the guilt and the exhaustion and just this in-between world. And so just be prepared if you're gonna go through that, I don't know, you're not alone. Know that it's not necessarily anything you've done wrong. This is just what's called of you at this time. It reminds me of when I was finishing up college. There were days where, like, the hardest part of this day is just me getting out of my car to actually go in the building. I love school. I loved once I'm there. But sometimes it was just showing up. It's stuff I could have looked at a slideshow online, or I could have just read that chapter and just not needed to be in class. And there was a couple times I did that, but really I had to remind myself, maybe the work isn't just the knowledge, it's what's being built of me by having to continue to show up and to honor the promise I made to myself. It's those little moments in class building up community with people or the professors. So sometimes what's being taught in those moments or learned is not always the obvious. And so I'm trying to look at that with my own life right now, that this very much indeed is a learning moment for me. It's a growth moment. And sometimes I already know I love all the sales stuff, and the selling of everything was this incredibly fun time. I have magical time coming up with the traveling. This very boring, monotonous time is important too. And so trying to settle into that. And this is what I'm wanting. I'm wanting to learn how to sit in the calm. And life is handing me that right now. So I'm just really working at trying to learn to sit in the stillness and find a calm within myself during this time. So in the end, this big, brave, bold decision to slow travel and move abroad is one thing, but this endurance work of a year-long process of just the continuing on past the fun parts is the real work. And so we're almost through it. But if you are going through that, I just want you to know you're not alone. Know that hopefully this video can help you in a few of those areas to know what to expect. But I really wanted to share that because it's not fun when you're in it, especially when you don't see something coming. And I'm a planner. I like knowing what's coming. And for the most part, that served me really well. In fact, I actually made a whole thing about it because this last year I've rocked it. All of the planning and selling and deciding and the process, and it's a whole thing making a big life pivot. And I happen to excel in most areas of that, and I actually made a whole thing called the Pivot Planner. I will put the link in the description. It walks you through all of these steps. And so I felt it was important to share this honest assessment beyond those main fun parts of it. Is some of these not fun parts. And so if you've been through it before, I'd be curious, what parts did you find the least fun? Maybe this was the fun part for you. You finally were able to relax into it. I would love to hear. And if you have any advice for this time, please share. I am always open to learning and growing and just continuing to come more tune into myself and my internal power. I don't like feeling like I am floaty right now. That's not a fun feeling for me. So I'm surrendered to new experiences, and I also am very much open to learning from them. And so if you have any advice on the learning part, please share. So this whole Realist Dreamer channel is all about things like this, just dreaming big. And I know that these huge life things can happen, but it also is balanced with this realist game plan. How do you make those happen? What are the steps to happen? And just kind of getting down into it to balance those parts out and creating that life that we love. So if that calls to you and you want a little more of that in your life, I invite you to join me on this channel. It's pretty new and I'm still working at growing it, and I would love for you to be a part of it. So thank you for being here. I wish you a really wonderful day. Bye.